Which rule is the function rule for the graph? Here we have a graph drawn, and we have to choose between our four choices which equation represents the graph that is drawn. We know this is a line, okay? All of my choices are in the form of y equals mx plus b. So let's remember, if I have y equals mx plus b, m is my slope. When I look at my line is slanting upward to the right. Therefore, I know my m must be positive. Okay? I do know that. Now, where is b? B is your y-intercept. B is your y-intercept. So where does this graph cross the y-axis? It crosses the y-axis at -6. So look at your choices. Here, A has a 0 y-intercept, so I know it's not A. C has a 0 y-intercept. I know it's not C. B has a y-intercept of -6. That's like mine. And D has a y-intercept of +6, so I know it's not D. So my only choice is C. So B. My only choice is B. So in determining which equation matches your graph, find your y-intercept first. Locate it. Look at your slope. I know my line had to have a positive slope. Now, from this point to this perfect point. Now, what I mean by a perfect point, it crosses perfectly at this line and this line, where the vertical and horizontal line touch from my graphing paper. It touches perfectly there, there, and so forth on. So from this point to this point, now let's look. What does each little marking represent on my graphing paper? Well, I've got 0, and I skip a marking, and then I have 6. So what is in the middle between 0 and 6? Wouldn't that have to be 3? So in other words, for me to go from this point to this point, I had to rise 3, and I had to run 3. You see that every one of these markings represents a 3, okay? So from this point to this one, I had to rise 3, +3, and run +3. So my slope is 3 over 3, which 3 divided by 3 is 1. So my slope is 1. So does this equation have a slope of 1? Is there a 1 in front of x? Yes, it's understood to be there. So the rule for this function of this graph is b, y equals to x minus 6. Look at your y-intercept. Also take into consideration this line had a positive slope. And then look at your slope. What is your rise? What is your run from your y-intercept to the next perfect point?